Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about Wave 4 of the Booster Pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So let's not waste any time, let's get on with the first cup, the Fruit Cup. And the first track that we have here is a tour track, which is Amsterdam Drift. Do you know what, this might be the first interesting looking tour track. I think out of all of them so far, out of the ones that I've talked about up until this point, Amsterdam pretty cool looking. You know, we've got the windmills, we've got the tulips. As a track, I think it's pretty good. I think it might potentially be my second favourite tour track. Sydney Sprint I think is still my first one, but this one's really cool. So you kind of crisscross in the middle a lot in this track. You go out one way out into the meadows with the windmills and the moles, come back into the city. Second lap you go into the canals, you dive underwater. That's really cool. And then the third lap you kind of drive around the tulips. So this track is actually interesting. It's got some tight corners. There's a reason why it's called Amsterdam Drift, I think. It's got a couple of tight corners, some square ones. And overall, actually, a lot of the tracks in this particular wave do feel a bit more difficult. But yeah, Amsterdam Drift is a good start to this pack. I like how the track feels. I think it's very varied. I think it's very interesting. The music's kind of nuts, as a lot of them have been. And I think this is the kind of tour track that's up there. For me personally, that's like that with Sydney Sprint. I think this is just a really solid track. It's interesting, and it's just, there's a good crisscross part where you drive back into the canal, into the water, and if people are still coming out, you're driving into them and stuff, which is really fun. So yeah, I think this track is how I want most tour tracks to be, just interesting visually, and I think that's really the main part of what I want. Is that sometimes they're not that visually interesting to look at, but this one is. So definitely a solid start with that track. Would recommend, if you have got the booster pass, obviously this is just a really good track. It's good fun to practice on, good one for drifting, very much so. Following up from that is the Game Boy Advance track, the Riverside Park track. Now I seem to have a real soft spot for these Game Boy Advance tracks, like the Snowland one and the Boo Lake one were incredibly fun, and I just really enjoy them for some reason. And I think it might be because I didn't play much of Super Circuit, but essentially this is quite a short and simple track. It's sort of got like a river in it, it's trees, sort of kind of like dusk all the time. It looks nice, I've got to be honest, it does look very nice. The big gimmick here is you have the return of patuis, which are basically piranha plants walking around. And they walk around and essentially have items above them, and you can smack them to drop either a banana or smack them to drop a mushroom. And yeah, it's a kind of a simple loop. Very fun for drifting on, and the best part is coming out the cave, shooting out the waterfall at the back, landing on the track, and going to the end. It's it's a really simple track, one of the simpler ones. I think Boo Lake and Snowland I prefer. I don't think this is as good as those, but I still like it. I think it looks nice. I think it's fun to play on. I like it when some of these short tracks are a little bit wider in places, which this one is. I don't typically like wider tracks, but I think it works here. You can get some really nice drifts out of it. There's mud on the track. All in all, it's just a nice track. This is the one that's like, oh, this is kind of fun. This is cute. It's got its own unique idea and look, and I imagine it looks very different from the original. But yeah, Riverside Park, again, it's probably not the best one in this pack. It's probably one of the weaker ones, but it's still fun, and I still like it. So, you know, like I said, GBA Game Boy Advance stuff is a bit of a soft spot for me. Following up, we have an absolute corker of a track, which is from the Wii, which is Snowboard Cross, or DK Snowboard Cross. I think it's called DK Mountain Pass or something in America, but here in Europe, it's DK Snowboard Cross. And this is one of my favourite tracks from the Wii. This is the one where you kind of shoot up the mountain, and then you got the half pipes and through the snow, and you're coming down. And honestly, these are the sort of tracks that I love in Mario Kart, where they have that really good theming, and the using the half pipes and doing the tricks to get the boosts. And you have to make that choice. It's like, well, going up the ramp might be longer, but I can get coins, or I can get item blocks, or I can try and drift around them, miss it all, and get a big boost out of it. and then you've got the bumpy bit where you like boost over those, and then you have the big winding S part where there's like you can fall off the track, and it's just a really, really well put together track. And then you got the final half pipe where you got these Shy Guys skiing, and then you have the snow. And I definitely think the snow in this game doesn't seem to slow you down nearly as much. Doesn't seem as threatening, but it does definitely slow you down. I like the frost effects you get at the top of the screen when you hit into it. Honestly, this is a brilliant track, and I'm glad to see this one come back. I think this is one of my favorites in this pass. Still holds up really well today. I would like to see DK Mountain come across from the GameCube one, so we have both those tracks in the game, because they're both very similar, and they both have like, they're just a lot of fun. I like the style of these tracks, and this is just a really warm welcome to see this come back, and it plays just as well as you remember it. And you can actually jump out of bounds now as well by going over the booster pads on some of the ramps. It's pretty impressive, but really, really, really happy with that one. Love it. Think it's a lot of fun. And then finally, in this particular set of 4 tracks, we have Yoshi's Island. Now, this was the track that everybody was like super excited about. Understandably so, right? This is essentially based on the beginning title screen of Yoshi's Island, and there are a ton of references. The music, the visual style, the things you go through the track, and this is an incredibly well put together track, and this is for the fans. But I have a bit of an unpopular opinion. As much as I like this track, if you take away the theme of Yoshi's Island, it's not that interesting as a track. It does have interesting moments. I like the fact that it uses all the elements. You know, you start off, you jump into the water, you come out the water, you go up into the sky, you come down from the sky, and the best bit of the track is trying to hit that cloud that spawns that extra shortcut. Very, very cool, very unique, very much like that. And I don't want to sit here and rag on the track. It's not a bad track at all. But I see people saying, like, you know, in terms of theming, in terms of look, this is probably one of the best tracks Nintendo have put out in a very long time for Mario Kart. But is it as fun as some of the other themed tracks? Like, unfortunately, the F-Zero tracks in Mario Kart 8 are incredible. I don't think the Animal Crossing one or the Hyrule Circuit one are amazing. Like, they're fun, but they're not the F-Zero tracks. Excite Bike I like as well, and this Yoshi's Island is definitely up there for me, but I don't know if I would say this is like the god tier kind of track. I think it is fun. I think the references are really cute. There is so much love put into this track, but as a track to drive on, it's held up by its theming more than it's held up by the actual driving on this itself. And I think some people might not agree with me there, and that's okay. But if you take away a lot of it, it's simply a case of a couple of turns, jump into the ocean, a couple more turns into the sky, and then one big turn at the end. It's not a long track either. And just length isn't always can be a good or bad thing, but I think in this instance it's long enough. The track does what it needs to do. But yeah, I think this is really, really, really fun and enjoyable, but I don't know if I put it up there with some of my favourites in the game. Just because the track itself just lacking a little bit. Just a little bit, you know. But that's the Fruit Cup, and to be honest, that's a really solid set of tracks anyway. You know, I would have fun playing on that course a lot. I really liked Amsterdam Drift, Riverside Park, Snowboard Cross, and Yoshi's Island, so it's all good. Alright, moving on then, we had I think it's Boomerang Cup, and it starts off with Bangkok Rush, which is a tour track. Now this track, I think, I don't know why, like, I am struggling on this track, and you'll see the footage of me playing on it, but I really struggle with this track. I find it really difficult, and now I've only played on it 4 to 5 times, you know, it's not like I've had a lot of time with it, but I constantly crash into stuff, and so part of that might be why I don't hate it. I don't dislike the track, I guess. I still think it's one of the more interesting ones. You start off, you go over the boats. That's pretty fun. And then you can go up on the awnings. You can go up on the rail track and stuff like that. Some really fun stuff to it. But it's just like, I don't know. It is a toughie. I think this track, for me personally, is quite tough. It's not... I don't think it's up there for, like... I think Amsterdam Drift, I definitely prefer it to this one. But I don't dislike it. I still think it's a more interesting tour track than a lot of the ones that have come before. I'm starting to realise that the tour tracks coming out now, the later ones, genuinely are a bit... Well, at least this pack, they're far more interesting. I don't really rate the others, and we'll get to that. Like once we get to the end of the booster pass, and I've played on all the tour tracks, I'll probably talk about them themselves individually. But this one is fun, but it just feels really tough, and I think that's just maybe just still learning the track. But it has some cool things. You have a flying over the heights. You have the bouncing off the roofs of the tents, which is really cool. Like I think there's a lot of cool ideas here. It's just maybe not. It's maybe executed in a way that doesn't suit me, which is fine. But I'm just like I kind of like it. I don't think much more of it than that though. So fun track, cool ideas, but yeah, I'm struggling with that one. After that, we have the Mario Circuit from the DS, which I honestly don't remember much about Mario Circuit from the DS, so this is going to feel like a new track. There are a lot of good DS levels, and this one isn't bad. I'm just surprised they picked this one over like some of the others. Now, I will say I am a sucker for like the circuit tracks, the ones that feel like they should be for a go-kart. So I do like the theming here. It looks nice. You've got the different sections of it. Like I like the fact they've got fire piranha plants, just natural hazards on the course. And you got the Goombas obviously, but you've got these natural fire piranha plants spitting across through the track. I think that's a really cool idea. Would like to see more of that usage. And then you come around into the forest, and you have Wiggler, and then you come back round, and you have a really nice big chicane. It's nothing crazy. It's not a crazy track, but it does look nice. It has a nice theme, and I enjoy it. I like the fire piranha plants, like I said, as well as the Wiggler. I wish Wiggler wasn't asleep on lap 1 and lap 2. I wish he was like maybe asleep lap 1 and then 2 and 3 is when he comes out. But you know, I'm not sure why they decided that was going to be the case. But all in all, it's a good track. This and the Game Boy Advance one might be the weakest two in this pack, but I don't necessarily think that like they're not weak as compared to some of the other tracks we've had in the past. It's just some of these other tracks are just really good, so they feel a little bit not undercooked, because that's an insult to the devs. It's just they know what they are. They're based on simpler tracks. I did wish at this point with the booster pass that we would be getting more difficult ones, and all of the tour tracks in this feel much more what I'd like, what the kind of difficulty I'd like. And Riverside Park and the DS Mario Circuit definitely feel on the easier side, and that's okay. But in all honesty, it's a fun track. I like the circuit tracks, so more of these, maybe more of the ones that I like, but that's unlikely going forward that they're going to pick many more of these circuit tracks, I would imagine. But yeah, very, very, it's fun, cool, looks good, but that's about it with that one. Next up, we have from the GameCube, Waluigi Stadium. In my opinion, one of the best tracks and probably the best track in this pass. This level is just so well designed, it holds up. The mud aesthetic is going to be a choice that you either like or you don't, but they have made some changes. I think having the diagonal piranha plants in this is kind of odd, rather than having just one on the left, one on the right. But I don't hate it. I think you've got a lot of obstacles. You've got the spinning fire bars, the fire circles. You've got the piranha plants coming out of the pipes. You've got tires everywhere. What's really cool is they've added these two new sections in. Near the end of the full half pipe, where you can get up on it and get a speed boost in an item. One at the end that allows you to get on top to take that corner a bit easier, and then gives you a gliding section at the end. And honestly, I think Waluigi just has some of the best tracks. We've got Waluigi Stadium, Waluigi Pinball, probably two of the best Mario Kart tracks ever made. So, as far as I'm concerned, this was the highlight for me. Like, seeing this, I was like, oh, if we could just get Wario Coliseum from GameCube, that would be so cool. But this is a really good track. Hearing the music as well, like, I love the music from Double Dash, so hearing the music was very nostalgic for me. But just a really solid track. Like, again, dirt track stuff, it must be a theme that I enjoy. But honestly, being able to play on this again and looking very nice. And it just plays well. It is a bit wider, that tube part, which does make it a bit easier, but that might have been like that in Mario Kart Wii, because I think that was the last time we saw it. But all in all, great track. Play it if you haven't played it. It's so good. And then last up, we have Singapore Speedway, which is probably, like, I think it's a really colourful and I think it's a really interesting tour track. I honestly don't know how I feel about it though. Like, I enjoy it, I think it's fun, but I don't really have any strong feelings on it either way. The track essentially starts off like going down the city. you boost up into like the top of this roof, and then you're like on this pool party. You come down over a stadium, come back around. That's like lap 1. Lap 2, you go through like a kind of like a market thing into a like shopping center. And then that's when lap 3 starts. It's kind of a weird place for lap 2 to end and when lap 3 starts. And then lap 3 has you go through like this shopping centre thing all the way around, back onto like near the roof, and then down and across through the market again, and then end. It's interesting. It's a really interesting track, and I think it's going to be a lot of people are going to appreciate it. The music's good. I think I need to play on it more. I think I do need to play on it more. I think it's colourful. I think it's fun, but I just don't have strong feelings for it. Like I wouldn't say no to playing on it. I don't dislike it, but I don't know if it stands out to me personally. I think the main thing is I had fun with it. Like it wasn't a like a London loop, or it wasn't like a like a Paris or a Tokyo Blur one, or whatever it's called. Like, none of the tour tracks are as bad as the Tokyo one. Unfortunately, that track is pretty boring. And this isn't boring. This is fun, and I do enjoy it. But like, I think I'm just burnt out on tour tracks. I think 3 tour tracks specifically was too much, and I really hope that there aren't any more to come after this, because my Christ, I don't need any more city tracks unless they're from the GameCube, in which case I do want them. But all in all, this wave is pretty solid. I think most of the tracks are good. I think the 2 of the tracks in there, the Snowboard Cross and Waluigi Stadium, are incredibly good. And the rest of it is just really solid. So I think Nintendo have really started to up their game. I think we've got a really good set of tracks now. I think once all the waves are out, I'll sit down and review the whole thing and go through it and talk about what I think, worked and what didn't, and what tracks I think maybe they could have replaced if there's any there that I think don't work. But hopefully that gives you guys decent impressions for the pass. I hope you're enjoying it if you are playing it, but if you're planning on getting it, it's incredible value now. Now you've got more characters coming. Now we've got so many tracks in it. Just a pleasure, and just enjoying it. And the tracks are getting better, and I can see Nintendo are improving every time they put out the next wave. So really happy to see that. Anyway, that's it for me today then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description, as always. And until next video, I will see you then.